Hi, this is Erika from Small Robot Studio. Today I'll show you how to sculpt realistic ears in Nomad Sculpt. We'll understand their structure and what makes them unique from person to person. The external ear, also known as auricular or pincha, is essentially a funnel that catches sound waves and directs them into the ear canal. What sticks out of our head is the wide part of this funnel called the concha. We can also think of it as a bowl. This bowl starts at the middle of the head from a profile view, not counting the nose. Their position is not orthogonal to the head. From the top, side and front view, they lie in an angle. These angles define how much the ear protrudes between individuals. Hey, make sure that you are subscribed with notifications on. Otherwise, you might be missing out on the many tutorials that we release for free each week here on YouTube. The ear is a thin sheet of folded cartilage. What looks like a bump in the front is a depression in the back. The shapes of the ear look very intricate, but we can simplify them by thinking of a Y inside a question mark. Let's focus on the question mark. The spine is a helix of the ear. It originates deep inside the bowl and comes out and around. Its origin is flatter, but it rounds as it reaches the top. From the top, it's wider and it gets thinner, reaching the bottom. From another view, we can appreciate it's not flat, but it follows an S-curve in and out. It attaches to the dot of the question mark, which is the earlobe. The lobe is made of fatty tissue, so unlike the rest of the ear, it's a thick volume. There are two types of earlobes, attached or free. Attached ones go directly from the helix to the head. Free ones hang down before the attachment. Genetically, free lobes are more common, but their volume and length can vary greatly. The Y shape is known as the antihelix. The inside arm is skinny and square. The outside one is wide and rounded. It originates deep inside the concha and is overlapped on the top by the helix. It's hard to judge its height from this point of view, but from a different one, see how tall it gets towards the middle. It follows a C-curve. At its highest point, it protrudes more than the helix. At the very end, it has an inflated bump. This is the antitragus. On stylized designs, these shapes are often simplified or even just ignored, so take that into account. If there's an antitragus, of course there is a tragus. Just follow the edge to the next bigger bump. The tragus is in front of the concha and sits on top of the entrance of the ear canal. It points slightly outside, creating an extra wall that helps collect sound from behind. You might have been stylized designs that the tragus connects with the helix, closing the edge of the bowl. This works for stylized designs, but it isn't anatomically accurate. The tragus ends at the side of the head, while the helix goes inside the bowl. Watch out for that if you're working on realism. Don't forget that most of these parts we just reviewed are not masses. The bumps in the front are depressions in the back. The best way to identify what makes an ear unique from individual to individual is to understand its angles and main rhythms. We know the rhythm of the helix, which is a question mark, but the shape can look very different. A free earlobe will require an extra C-curve, which may be flatter or rounder. The gesture that describes the curvature of the antihelix is an echo of the helix. The tragus and antitragus connect with two rhythms. The tragus resembles a 2 with a round top and a sharp corner at the bottom. The antitragus instead is a flowy S-curve. We got plenty of information, so let's move on into sculpting. As an extra help following this video, we are giving our Patreon supporters the 3D models we have been looking at and the step-by-step measures of the process. Become a supporter to access this and more rewards at patreon.com/smallrobotstudio. You can also buy the individual assets in our Gumroad store. We will start by deactivating symmetry since we are only working one ear, and with our camera set to orthogonal. The base of our ear is just a flat cylinder. Before validating the primitive, set the slider to 90 degrees and rotate it to face the camera. We are grouping the parts of the ear and blocking them with separate geometries, starting with the concha and tragus. We will use a sphere with low resolution. Don't be afraid to go low. We can easily add subdivision levels in multi-resolution. From a top view, with the project tool, I'll flatten the outside. I'll use the gizmo, but edit the pivot to locate it where the tragus will be, and rotate and position the ear, thinking of the angles it creates from the top, side, and front. Pay special attention to the angle from the top, because it defines how much the ear protrudes out. Use this magnifying glass icon to hide the unselected meshes. With a mask, I'll protect the outside walls of the bowl, and with the move tool set to normal, I'll push inside these walls to create the concavity of the concha. Clean the mask and adjust the shape of the bowl. Then, with extra resolution, define the tragus. The connection of the tragus to the head is a soft slide, whereas the concha has a steep wall where it joins the head. For the helix and lobe, I'll create a torus, again in low resolution. Rotate the torus 90 degrees, adjust its location, and go inside the topology menu to change the value of angle so we get only a portion of this torus. Do as many adjustments as you can with the gizmo and validate. From a side view, use the move tool to adjust the shape. Now from a front view, pull it in and out to get the S-curve. You might need to adjust the concha so there are no holes between them. Once in position, use the inflate tool to thicken an area or reverse its action to thin it. For the anti-helix and anti-tragus, the process is very similar. I'll use a thicker torus instead. We will work on the depression between the arms of the Y later. For now, I want the rhythms and protrusions. Use the inflate tool to create the bump of the anti-tragus. With all these shapes in place, we can change our camera to perspective. Let's work on the connection of the rhythms we know, like the one that connects the tragus and anti-tragus. If you are ready for more detail, add more resolution levels, maybe for the anti-helix, and create its depression. As we know, these shapes aren't volumes, so I'll mask one side and push the rest to create a hollow. The most important one is the helix, because it's a visible fold and it overlaps the anti-helix. This hollowing process is for the sake of keeping things realistic, but we could take some liberties on less visible shapes. Once this is done, select a pair of geometries and merge them. You'll need to blend some surfaces afterwards. Easily done with the smooth tool. To sharpen corners, use pinch and crease. And yet again, once this works, select another piece and merge them. It's easier to do the final adjustments like this instead of merging all the pieces together at once. From now on, it's just adjustments. The very last piece we want to merge is the base. Don't forget to use reference and break it down into simple shapes. Change your matcaps to refresh your perception of the shapes. And try these exercises more than once. You will learn more by repeating and catching what you can do better the next time, instead of spending hours in one singular sculpt. Alright, here we go! The final result. This is it for the features of the face series. Stay tuned, for we are working on a premium course putting all this knowledge together to sculpt a realistic head. You'll hear more about it soon. Happy sculpting! That's it for this tutorial. If you find it useful, make sure that you leave a like so other people can find it. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, as we are bringing out CG and illustration tutorials every week. Become a patron and access tutorial assets, bonus content, a private Discord, and more by clicking in the link below.